Hi everyone, it's Lynn Dion here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to be creating this fun winter scene. We're going to be using this beautiful stamp set from Art Impressions. This is from the Bible journaling set. We're using the tree and the two deer, and you can see the beautiful scene that you can create with this. And this is from the As the Deer set. So I've got some paper here. I'm going to place that in my Mini Misty stamp positioner. And you can see that this rubber stamp is very thick. So this is one of those thick rubber stamps. So I'm going to remove that foam pad from the Misty. I'll be stamping with the VersaFine Onyx Black ink. That's a permanent black ink. And for paper, I'm using the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up this stamp. And we're not going to be using that scene portion of the stamp. We're just going to be focusing on the two deer there. And I do want to make a card and a gift card holder, so I'm going to flip that around and stamp this again. So to color these in, I'm using Tea Rose, Oatmeal, and Mid Brown. And these are the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens. And these are a water-based marker. So I'm starting with that lighter oatmeal color and then adding a little bit of that darker brown. And then I'm just going to blend that out. I'm using the blender pen to do my blending, but you could certainly use a water brush here as well. And I did add a little bit of that tea rose to the inside of the ears there. And then I'm just going to add some shadows here and there. So I'm just doing really simple coloring here. Now this stamp set is part of the Art Impressions watercolor series. So there's a whole line of stamps in this set for scene building. Beautiful, beautiful stamps with scenes of barns and trees and foliage, anything you could think of. She's just got a beautiful collection there. And that's with Bonnie Krebs. She's the designer of all of these, and she just does some amazing things. And there's also the watercolor design team with Karen, Trisha, and Dot. They do some beautiful work. So you definitely want to check that out as well. But today I'm just going to do some simple coloring, and I'm actually just going to cut these out, and we're going to just layer them into a scene. So I'll color in all of the rest of these deer the exact same way. Now I'll grab my detail scissors and I'll cut around these, and again, just to keep this simple, I'm going to leave a little white border all the way around just to make these really simple to cut out. But you certainly could cut right up to the line if you prefer that. So there's a closer look at those. Now I'm going to these dies, and I'm going to grab that fifth largest one. And I'm going to die cut 3 of those. And these are the rectangle A2 double stitch dies. And I'm going to cut 3 panels for each of our projects. So we'll have 6 panels in total. So 3 for the card and 3 for the gift card holder. And those will have that nice stitch border all the way around. So I'm going to grab the first 3 here. So one is for our panel. And then we're going to use these other 2 to create some snowbanks. So I'm going to start off just cutting a little bit of an angle here just to create a little slope for the first snowbank. And then I'm going to cut the next one. I'm just flipping that over. And this way, 3 sides of these will have a stitched border around them. So I'm just going to cut that second one a little bit smaller than the first one. And then this last one will be smaller than that. So I'm just going to create 3 little snowbanks here, and those will stack up one on top of the other, and those will lay on that panel that we're going to be coloring in. I'll do the same thing for these other ones. And since I've already figured out what the snowbanks should look like, I'm just going to use those as my guide to cut out these 3 as well. I'm going to set those aside for now, and we'll work on these 2 panels. So we're going to create the sky, and I want that sky to begin right above that snowbank. So I'm using Speckled Egg and Stormy Sky. These are the Distress Oxide inks from Tim Holtz. And I'm laying down that Speckled Egg all over just a nice even coating of that here. And I just want to see about where I want that stormy sky to begin, because I want it to be a little bit darker right at the top of that snowbank. So I'm basically just patting on some ink here so I can get a nice thick layer of ink. And then I'll blend that up into the speckled egg. Then I'm grabbing that speckled egg applicator and blending that a little bit more. Here I'll just pat on some more ink and blend that again. And you can do that as many times as you need to. I did the same thing for that other panel. Now I'm going to grab that little tree from that same stamp set. I'll place this in my mini MISTI, and I'm going to stamp these trees. I'll stamp 4 of them right across the top of that snowbank. So all we're focusing on here is the tree. I don't want the rest of that scene below it. So I do want to keep that part below the snowbank. So I'm just going to stamp these at varying heights. And since I'm making 2, I'll just leave that stamp in there, put the other panel in, and then stamp this again. So I can do both of these at one time. So if you're doing multiples, this is a quick, easy way to do this. I'll clean off that stamp and then position it again. And then I'll stamp this one. And I'm going to do that all the way across these 2 panels. So you do want to remember to clean that off each time. Now you don't have to use the MISTI here. You could certainly just stamp these, put these on an acrylic block and stamp these. I just thought the MISTI made it a little bit easier for me to make sure that they were lined up exactly where I wanted them to be before I did my stamping. So now that we have those all set, I'm going to go ahead and use my heat tool and just heat set those. I'm grabbing the Weathered Wood Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to add a little shadow across the top of each of those snowbanks. And that'll just give these a little bit more dimension. I'll do the same thing for this other set. Now I'm grabbing my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and I'm going to start gluing these together. So I'll lay that first snowbank down. Now for this next one, I want to add one of the little deer kind of tucked in between those 2 snowbanks. So I'm just going to add a little glue there, glue this one in place, and now I can go ahead and attach this to the card. Now before I glue this next one down, I do want to stamp my sentiment. So I'm just going to get this one ready. I'm just going to tuck those legs behind the snowbank there. And I did need to cut a little slit there between the head and that front leg so that I could tuck his legs back in behind that snowbank. And I'm applying a little bit of glue there, and then I'm going to just glue that down. Now I'll set that aside for a second while I do my sentiment, because I am going to be popping up that deer just a little bit, that front one, so I don't want that to get in the way. So this sentiment says, "Life with you is wonderful," and this is from the Enjoy the Ride stamp set. I thought this would be really cute. I'm using this actually as a Valentine card for my husband, but I think it would make a great anniversary card as well. I'm just testing my stamping here just to make sure it's going to line up exactly the way I wanted it to. So I just used a piece of scrap paper here just to make sure it was nice and straight. Now I can go ahead and do my stamping. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll show you that I also made a little retirement gift card holder with this same scene. This would also be great for a winter birthday as well. So now I've added a little chunk of the Scotch foam mounting tape there on the top part of that deer, and then I'll put glue on the rest of this, and that'll just give this a little bit of dimension. You could certainly pop up that entire snowbank if you wanted to as well here. I'm just going to add a little bit more glue there behind his head. Now I want to make the gift card holder, so I'm going to grab that envelope gift card holder from Art Impressions, and I'm using some craft cardstock. This is a 65-pound weight cardstock to create the envelope. And then with that next size up from the die that we used before, so the 4th largest die from that rectangle die set, I'm going to go ahead and die cut that as well, and that'll be for our card. So we have the envelope pocket, and then we're just creating a panel here for the card. So for this envelope, I'm going to go ahead and press out all of these score lines. So the die does create the score lines that you need to do your folds. And then on those 2 little tabs there, I'll go ahead and place some 1/4-inch score tape on those. I'm pressing that out with the bone folder. It just makes it a little easier to remove the backing if you press that down first. And then I'll just fold in those 2 tabs and attach these. And this die does create that little slot that you need to close your gift card holder. And you can see that there. Now with the Ground Espresso Distress Oxide ink, I'm just going to create a little shadow all the way around this panel, just to give it a little bit more of an antique-y look, and just to bring in a little bit more of that darker brown color. And I'll flip this over and do the same thing on the back as well. Once that's done, I'm going to grab that panel and I'm going to do the same thing on this panel, just adding a little extra color in the 4 corners there. Now I can go ahead and attach this one to the front of my gift card holder. Again, I'm going back to that 1/4-inch score tape. Just going to place plenty of that on the back here just to make sure this stays attached nicely. And then I'm going to remove the backing. And then for this one here, I'm just going to center this scene right on the front of this panel. And this will get attached to the card. I'm going to first use my Uniball white gel pen to create kind of a snowy effect here. I'm just creating some little dots here. Now, you could spatter this panel, and I did consider that, but then I thought it might just be a little too much. So I'm going to use the gel pen just so I have a little bit more of a control over where the little dots go. And then I'm also going to use this to create a little bit of snow on the branches of the trees here. So I'm just kind of placing a little bit of that white kind of in the V's, in the little crevices of the trees here. And that'll give it a pretty snowy effect. And then I did decide to come in with a little bit of that snow right on the front of these deer as well, just to make it look like it's snowing all over here. So now I'm going to grab this beautiful 3-dimensional embossing folder. This is from Sizzix. This is the 3D Textured Impressions embossing folder, and it's called Jeweled Snowflakes, and this is absolutely beautiful. I'm taking a piece of Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock, which measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, That'll be the front panel for our card. Now to do this, I'm placing my platform down, and I'm not going to use any of the plates. I'm going to grab 2 pieces of cardboard. These are from some old notepads that I had. These are just the backs of the notepads. You could certainly just stack up some cardstock here. I find that this works best for me. But you definitely want to use the instructions for your specific die cutting machine. So check what your instructions are. But for me, I just grab a couple pieces of cardboard and run these through. Now you want to make sure it's not tight as you're doing this. If it's tight, you want to back out and remove a piece of cardboard or pieces of cardstock, whatever you've used here. So you do want to be really sure that this isn't tight as it's running through. This is running through really easily for me. So I'm running it through about 3 or 4 times just to kind of press, and I'm doing it slowly just to press that impression into the cardstock. And you can see how beautiful that is. So now I'm going to grab my weathered wood and my ground espresso. And for the weathered wood, I'm just pressing very lightly onto this textured paper. I don't want to get down into the crevices there. I just want to have the ink sit right up on top of that 3-dimensional portion. So again, I'm just lightly pressing this on and just applying that ink just on the tops of this image. And that's going to really highlight these snowflakes. Then I'm coming in with the ground espresso, and I'm going to press down here a little bit harder. I do want to create a nice shadow all the way around this panel. So you can see that up close, and you can see how pretty that looks. Now I've got a standard A2 size card, so this is 4 1/4 by 11 inches. I'm scoring it at 5 1/2 inches, and I'm just going to press out that crease with my bone folder. And this will be a standard A2 top folding card. So I'll go ahead and attach that panel to the front of the card, and I'm using my ATG 700 permanent tape dispenser to do that. I'm just going to line this up on the bottom of the table here just to make sure that's nice and straight and press that out. Now I can go ahead and attach this to the card, and I'm using some Scotch foam mounting tape to pop this up. And you do want to use plenty of it here because you are attaching it to that 3-dimensional cardstock, so you want to make sure you have enough areas for it to stick to. So now I've got my gift card holder and my card completed. You can see that fits in there nicely. So this makes a nice little gift set here with the card and the matching gift card holder. And I just love that 3D embossing folder. It just adds a lot of texture and interest to the card as well. And let me show you the little retirement gift card holder that I also made. And that sentiment is from the Art Impressions Happy Trail set. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to visit me at pinkwhisperdesigns.com. As always, thank you so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.